Welcome in, everybody, to Rhythm Fantasy Sports, to our college segment of their stream. We are actually covering Michael Pratt of Tulane Green Wave from the AAC, not the ACC, but the AAC conference. And
Yeah.
yeah, what's funny is I always get the ACC and AAC mixed up because I always thought they were the same divisions, and no, they're not the same division at all.
Well,
But yes,
I'm telling you, excuse me, I'm telling you, Jay, the way Tulane's been playing the last couple of years, they probably could be an I've now you got me tongue tied. ACC team, they could beat. I think they could beat Clemson. I think they could beat Duke. That level of team. I don't know about they'll probably lose to Florida State for sure, but hang in there with Miami and UNC teams like that. So maybe they should join the ACC. But they, I've been impressed. I've been impressed with this guy since last year's Cotton Bowl. I remember when they beat USC. I was like, "Who the hell is this quarterback?" And I remember the running back Tajee Spears. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. He's kind of going to be a big deal next year when he's the feature back with the Titans. But once Derrick Henry probably moves on. So, but yeah, they had a damn good team last year. Went 12-2. Like I said, won the Cotton Bowl. Tulane's kind of built themselves into a top 20 program this year, and they've looked really damn good. And they'll probably be in a similar size bowl game. But this has been the catalyst of everything is Michael Pratt, the quarterback. And we're going to have, just to start up front, Jay is going to have probably a different ranking because we go to, different, because there are a bunch of different places. I mean, it's the internet, dude. There's a lot of different places to get your rankings from. A lot of different, like, oh, this guy weighed 200 pounds, or this guy weighed 210, or this guy's 6'2", he's 6'3". There's so many. So I look for a couple sources, and I try to like get so I stick with PFF, and then Jay might have something different. So just in case there's some trolls out there, like this is from PFF. So he's the 70th ranked prospect overall, 10th rate quarterback, and I went to probably 4 or 5 mock drafts. Most people have him in the 4th to 5th round range, somewhere in there, which is probably where with quarterback inflation going on the last couple of years, it's probably where Mac Jones should have went, honestly. A guy of that skill set, because I mean Mac Jones was the 15th pick, and he's been a total bust. He's really screwed over the Patriots. Because he didn't have the skill level, and it wasn't able to work with nothing. There's only a handful of guys that can do that, and they think Caleb and a couple Drake May, guys like that can make chicken salad out of chicken shit, but he's not one. So in my view, Michael Pratt's not one of those guys. He's going to be a system guy. Maybe best case scenario like a Kirk Cousins, Kenny Pickett. Just kind of a baseline starter, but more of a backup, I think, is where he'll end up being. But he's deceptively athletic. For a quarterback, he runs a 4.65, and for a quarterback, that's not bad. That's not a bad set of wheels on him. Just for reference, Pat Mahomes runs a 4.8. So, but yeah, Pickett, based on the kind of the skill set that I saw, the size, the arm, doesn't have the greatest arm, the kind of an average arm, ability to kind of move in the pocket, kind of clutch. We know Pickett's got his issues, but we know he's clutch so far in the NFL. I mean, he's come through on quite a few occasions. So that was he even kind of looks like Pickett, but with shorter hair. So I it's a natural, natural comp to go there with it. Last year, when they beat USC in the Cotton Bowl, at over 3,000 yards passing, 27 TDs, only 5 picks, completed a little under 64% of his passes, which isn't terrible. And Bryce Young completed 77, 80%, something crazy like that, and now he has trouble completing 60 in the NFL. So it doesn't always mean that you're. And Josh Allen was like in the 55% range at Wyoming, and he's yearly an MVP candidate. So you can't just say, oh, this guy's made the greatest thing because he can complete 75% in college. You just never know. Tua's kind of transferred that to the NFL, but a lot of these guys just don't, because of you're working with, you go to a bad team, you're working with lesser talent. That's just a given. And this year so far with stats, a little under 1,800 yards passing, 16 TDs, 4 picks. Completion percentage gone up a little bit at 68%. Like I said, I like what I see. I don't think he's got a high ceiling in the NFL. This could be, but if he ends up in a draft next year, which he will, and then how we tie this in with the fantasy, in a dynasty league, he'll be on your, I think, taxi squad, practice squad level. And then a guy you could raise up. If there's Aiden O'Connell, for example, 4th-round pick. Aiden O'Connell isn't great or anything, but he's starting games right now. This could be next year. This could be Michael Pratt next year. He could end up in like Arizona. Like if they move off Kyler or Kyler gets hurt or something happens to the rookie, if they draft one, they Caleb or something, and they got to put in Michael Pratt. Michael Pratt could be starting games the middle of next year. I think he's going to be good enough to do that. I just don't think he's got a very high ceiling, but I'll see what Jay has to say about it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's Pratt overhand. He's actually as you mentioned, he's 6'3". He's actually I think he's 220 or whatever. But a lot of my stats and statistics I actually get from is the ranking stuff I actually get from College Football Nerds, which is not a bad site at all. It gives a lot of the what they do average wise, what they do kind of total wise, offensive wise and stuff like that. Yeah, I didn't actually look at what Tulane offense wise, what they were in the country, anyways. But I just mostly looked at what Michael Pratt did, which right now, just in the country overall, his completion percentage is 68, which is 22nd best in the country. I mean, that's top 25. I mean, that's top 25 percentage. You're talking, with guys like Penix and Caleb Williams and Drake Mays and stuff like that. I mean, Jaden Daniels, so I mean, a lot of the, JJ McCarthy. So I mean, he's up there with a lot of these guys, especially in the completions. Yards per attempt, that's 9.9. That's actually ninth best, in the country, which is just, I'm like, what? No freaking way. I mean, there's no way that he could be like passing, 9 yards per attempt and completing all these, but with his completion percentage being 68%, I can see it. I can see why he does that. And then his touchdown, he actually got 16 touchdowns on the season, which is 47th overall, best in the country. He's only throwing 4 touchdowns so far this year, which is not bad overall, because I think total-wise, he's maybe only throwing I think 15-ish or even less than that, like just career-wise. But he's 72nd overall with passing yards of 1,791 passing yards so far on the season, anyways. But he is more like he is like a 2,600 yard passing quarterback, give or take. I mean, that's the last couple of years that he's thrown. He hasn't thrown over 3,000 yards total. But I actually, a crazy funny thing, actually had to take a look quick. I know some of us are fantasy college, players as well. So I actually went and took a look at where he's ranked at in the AAC. He's actually sixth best in fantasy football with like 700 or 178 points total. So that just kind of gives some, just some statistic wise where he's at in the country wise, which is why he's a NFL prospect for this upcoming year. And the crazy funny thing I kind of mentioned to you already is he's actually the first recipient to actually get a invitation to the Senior Bowl this year. The first guy before anybody else. He's the first guy at the Senior Bowl. It's like, here you go, buddy. You got an invitation to the Senior Bowl.
Because I think the coaches, in their view, they can help this guy. I think they see like I do. Aiden O'Connell, another mature guy, can step in day one, doesn't have a high ceiling, but he's starting games. Raiders might make the damn playoffs, man. Like Pratt's in that same mid round. He's gonna, you're gonna get a bargain for him. People question Brock Purdy. Ended up in the right 7th round pick. Ended up in the right system, and now Brock Purdy's, he's going to be piloting a playoff team. So you don't always have to be the level of prospect of a Trevor Lawrence or Andrew Luck, some guy like that. You can get value in a fourth, fifth round guy like Michael Pratt, especially. Yeah, they don't just send the first invitation to the Senior Bowl just to anybody. And I know a lot of
No.
these kids coming out are juniors, and I get it. A lot of these Drake May Jr. coming out. As soon as he hits his third year, yep, going to the pros. But no, Michael Pratt's seasoned. Bo Nix, another guy, been in college forever. I think his 6th year. Another mature guy can step in day one. Bo Nix has obviously got a higher ceiling, but I like a lot of these mature seasoned guys like Pratt and Nix for I don't know.
Yeah.
Where do you think would be a good fit? Where do you think like a backup, someplace that could use a good backup that can move a little, he's accurate, can move a little bit.
I think Tampa. Tampa wouldn't be bad because they don't really.
I would love if we Jay, I would love if we took them both together. I would love if we took Bo Nix and Michael Pratt. Took one in the first or second round, and then took the other guy in the fourth or fifth. And kind of like a situation. Remember the Washington back in 2012? They took RG3 and Kirk Cousins. Kind of puts you in a good situation where, like, okay, we trust both these guys, and we're getting some serious value for Michael Pratt, because I mean arguably, dude, he's the best quarterback, and they've had some pros. I mean, they had Patrick Ramsey. He played like 20 years ago with Washington and Jets. He was with a couple teams. JP Losman, I remember him with the Bills, 20-ish years ago. There was another guy too. I'm not thinking of Sean King from the Bucks. He went to the NFC title game one year with the Bucks when we had a great defense. So Tulane's had some pretty good quarterbacks that have made the pros. This guy might be the best of them. So I think he's gonna be under. Like, I think people are gonna overrate Caleb, and they're gonna overrate a lot of these other guys, just overinflate them. I think they're gonna undervalue a guy like Michael Pratt.
Yeah, right now, Draft Buzz actually has him projected probably like a second day guy. He'll probably end up in the third round. I know you
that'd be nice. Yeah, be a nice. He deserves it. He deserves third. I'm thinking fourth, fifth, but that'd be nice if somebody, took a chance on him in the third. Absolutely.
Yeah. He's overall rank, he's like 81st. And then in just the QB ranking, he's number 9. He was actually a 3-star when he actually came out of high school, which is way crazy, because I was actually kind of went back and actually took a look at where some more of his detailed stuff. I mean, he had a lot of offers from a lot of smaller schools. Tulane was one of them. The Florida Atlantic was one of them. The higher end guys, and Gators and the Hurricanes were two of the bigger teams that were actually interested in him at that time before he came out and made up his mind. He actually went and actually visited Florida Atlantic, before he actually decided to actually sign with Tulane. So, I mean, he actually had some, if he actually went with the Gators or Miami, I mean, I don't know if they would have, like, I don't know if he would have did well with those programs at that time, how they looked at, how their teams looked like at that time,
Well, he wouldn't have played it with the Gators last year with AR5. Like, he wouldn't have played at Florida, and probably not this year. Maybe not even this year with Mertz. You know what I mean? So, in Miami, who knows about that situation? But I think he ended up in the right situation. And this conference, they've been dominating the last couple of years. Like I said, I think they're going to get to a similar size bowl game this year. With the Cotton Bowl last year, probably another high profile game for another high profile game. Probably New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, be somewhere in that range. Not a college football playoff team by any means, but in Senior Bowl he'll probably take a lot of snaps at the Senior Bowl too. He'll be one of those guys that you'll see a lot of if you're watching the game. My brother down in Florida, Eric, if he's watching, but Eric always goes to the Senior Bowl in Mobile every year, and so he'll be seeing a lot of Michael Pratt for sure.
Yeah, I know you mentioned about I had I had to go back and I was actually doing some backtrack of what they did last year. I know they actually ended up winning the Cotton Bowl. I mean, they went 12-12. I mean, Caleb Williams put up 5 touchdowns in that game. Pratt only had 2 touchdowns, but Tajay Spears, he actually had 4 touchdowns on the ground, keep them in the game. I mean, they had their wide receivers that were legit. It's just the way his running style is and whatnot. But I mean, last year in 2022, I mean, he had 2,600, 800, or 2,600, 84 yards. He had 25 touchdowns. I mean, 9 touchdowns last year, or yeah, in 2022 he had 9 rushing touchdowns. The year before he actually had 5 touchdowns. I'm not even sure how many he has this year. I think he's got a couple rushing touchdowns already this year. Overall, I mean, I think most of these college guys, they don't play under the center. There are a lot of them are playing, shotgun, which is
Yep.
they play shotgun, which is why they look a lot better. So I mean, with them being on the shotgun, with them playing on the shotgun, it makes it a lot easier for them to get the ball out quick, or I mean, they look a lot better than
Quick reads, yep.
under center. Yep, than playing like underneath the center. But he has a great ability to throw on the run. And I mean, you can see that, with a lot of his once you're in shotgun mode. I mean, it's a lot easier for the wide receivers to develop, the routes that they're running, to separation from the DBs, which is why he's great at that. Short and intermediate throws. So that's what he's good at. But I mean, he's kind of like a dual threat running back, or not dual threat running back, a dual threat quarterback, because he's got that ability to run if he needs to. I mean, that's kind of what he does a little bit. And I'll tell you who my comp is, and I think you'll be like, that's actually a pretty interesting comp. He's pretty good at that read option game too as well. Those are most of his pros, and his cons. Pretty much when he's under pressure, he kind of lacks a little zip on the ball. It's if he doesn't get his feet like set well, I mean that's kind of one of his downfalls there. And then if a play does break down, he with his first option or second, he ends up just taking off, trying to make a running lane for himself. And those are kind of both of his downfalls. With him a little bit, but I mean he's got a lot of pros. I mean his accuracy and whatnot to him, and he's good. He's actually good. He's good with those kind of like when he's running with those little sling balls and whatnot. Just those pass route. When he's running outside the pocket, he's good with a lot of those side throws and whatnot. But he kind of made me think of Daniel Jones. He made me think that's who he.
No! Oh, God. Not him. No, not him. No.
Yeah, but
no, not him. Not him.
So that's who he kind of makes me think of is Daniel Jones, because Daniel Jones.
No, don't say that name.
If shit doesn't go right, he just runs, which is why Daniel Jones had like 700 some odd yards rushing and couple touchdowns, however many touchdowns he had. So I mean, this is who he kind of makes me think of as Daniel Jones. So just a smaller version of Daniel Jones. So
I think in the pro, but they always said how smart Danny Dimes was, but he just, I don't know. But this guy, luckily, this guy isn't going to have the burden of being the 6th pick in the draft. Like he's going to be a mid-round guy that can, hopefully sit for a little bit or end up in a good situation. Maybe a good situation. Maybe he ends up in Kansas City. Kind of takes maybe can't even talk. Danny Dimes got my choked up. Blaine Gabbert's spot. Maybe he ends up Mahomes' backup and he can sit there and learn for a couple years. You never know it's all about situation with guys like this. I like Michael Pratt. I think he's got a good chance. If he ends up with a bad team like Clayton Tune did, like your boy Tommy DeVito, like some of these other guys that are starting as rookies, you'll see Michael Pratt starting a game. You'll see him starting a game next year somewhere. I guarantee it. I sound like the Men's Warehouse guy. You're gonna like the way you look. I guarantee it.
But yeah, I mean that's Michael Pratt. And that's our overview on Michael Pratt. And yeah, and
Michael
we'll
Pratt,
be
not Danny Dimes.
all right, guys. We'll be right back right after this, and then we're gonna wrap up our show. So we'll be back in like 15 seconds. So we'll be right back.